Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good. Be at home so that you and your family can be safe. Today I am going to start first chapter of economics, that is the story of village Palampur. It is an hypothetical village, or you can say it is an imaginary village, with the help of which we will discuss about some economic concepts. The first thing which comes in our mind, that is the theme of the chapter, or you can say the subject matter of this chapter. The subject matter of this chapter is economic transactions of Palampur and its interaction with the rest of the world, through which the concept of production, including three factors of production, land, labor and capital, can be introduced. To make it simple, we can divide it into two parts: economic transactions of Palampur and Palampur's interaction with the rest of the world. Economic transactions of Palampur means transfer of goods and services and transfer of money and other investments between residents of one place to another place. And the second point is Palampur's interaction with the rest of the world, or we can say its effect or influence with the rest of the world. With the help of these points, narrator wants to explain the concept of production with the involvements of three factors of production. Like all the other stories which we read or heard, there are some purpose or some message behind it. It can be fairy tale or it can be moral stories, but every story has some purpose or some objectives behind it. In the same way, this story is also having some objective or purpose, that is familiarizing the children with some basic economic concepts through an imaginary story of a village. So in this, narrator wants to teach some basic economic concepts to the students with the help of this imaginary village of Palampur. Now next is overview of the chapter, or we can say what is the general description of this story, or in short, what are the points which we will study in this story. It's a story of a hypothetical village named Palampur. The purpose of the story is to introduce some basic concepts relating to production. Farming, or you can say agriculture, is the main activity in the Palampur, whereas several other activities such as small scale manufacturing, dairy, transport, etc. are carried out on a limited scale. In the village, these activities need various types of resources. These are natural resources, man-made items, human effort, money, etc. As we read through the story of Palampur, we will learn how various resources combine to produce the desired goods and services in the village. Before starting the chapter, I want to explain some basic economic concepts in short, which I feel are very important to understand this chapter in a better way. These concepts are concept of economics, concept of economy, economic, concept of production, concept of utility, and factors of production. The first is meaning of economics. The first question which comes in our mind, that is, what is economics? What is economics? Because for you all it must be the new word or must be a new subject which you are studying first time. So it is very important to understand the meaning or concept of economics. It is a branch of social science in which we study the way an individual, a society, or a country choose to use its limited resources, which have alternative uses, to produce goods and services and to distribute them among different groups of people. Or in simple words, we can say that the principle of economics is Human beings have unlimited wants or desire which they need to satisfy with limited means. Or it studies how societies use limited resources to produce valuable commodities and distribute them among different people. Whatever you will study in this subject, you can easily be relate with your surroundings. It is a part and parcel of our life. To make you understand in a better way, I will explain it with an example. There is a student who gets rupees 1000 as a pocket money. He wants to spend that money in various things like conveyance or transportation or from or traveling from one place to another. He needs some amount. For example, to go to school or coaching classes or some other places, he have to spend some money which cost approximately 600 rupees. He also feels that he should eat something in school or college cafeteria. For that he need 500 rupees per month. Nowadays internet is a very important thing in our life. For that he need 200 rupees per month. He also wants to spend some time with his friends, like to go for a movie or some cricket tournament or some other sports tournament. He wants to go for picnic or some other outing with them, which will cost around 1000 rupees. So in total he need 2300 rupees per month. For this he asked to his mother to give him more money so that he can fulfill all his requirements or wants. But his mother is not be able to increase the amount because their family income is limited. So she said that I can give you 1300, not more than that. So as a student he has to make a choice on which of the following demand should he try or meet and which should he skip. Even if the budget increased up to 1300 rupees per month, still there are some requirements which cannot fulfill. So here he faced the problem of choice. Why this has come? Because this boy has to choose between either of these options because he has limited money at his disposal. The requirement or want that he has are unlimited or more in numbers than the amount of money he has. Now if we talk about economics, it is nothing but a study of how we use scarce resources or limited resources to satisfy unlimited wants. Now the next concept which we need to understand, that is economy. An economy is a system that helps to produce goods and services and enable people to earn their living. Or you can say an economy is a set of ideas or rules that helps to produce goods and services and enable or make it possible for people to earn their living. Next is economic, means concerned or connected with the supply and organization of money, business, trade, industry of a country, region or society. So in simple terms, basically it is related with money. Next is utility. It's a capacity of a commodity to satisfy human wants. In simple terms, you can say usefulness. For example, you all have the utility or usefulness with economics book. But an illiterate person who doesn't know how to read and write may not have utility with this book or may not be useful for him. Next is production. Addition to utility should be regarded as production, which brings about an addition in the value of goods. For example, you have a log or a thick piece of wood which may not be useful for you now. But when you will convert it into chair or table, then its value will be increased. So you can say that production of table or chair has been done. Now next is factors of production. Production is a cooperative process and not a job of any single factor. Means for production we need to combine various resources to produce the desired goods and services. There are four factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. And in this story, we will study land, labor, and capital and how they are helpful in production activity. Now let's start the chapter. The introduction of the chapter. It is a small village, well connected with neighboring villages and towns. Palampur is well connected with neighboring villages and towns. These are Raiganj and Shahpur. Raiganj, a big village, is 3 kilometers from Palampur. An all-weather road connects the village to Raiganj and further on to the nearest small town of Shahpur. Next is transport facilities. So there are many kinds of transport are visible on this road, starting from bullock cart, tongas, bogies, to motor vehicles like motorcycle, jeeps, tractors and trucks. Next, this village has about 450 families belonging to several different castes. The 80 upper caste families own the majority of land in the village. The scheduled caste comprise one-third of population. Some of the houses are quite large and are made of brick with cement plastering, and some are made up of mud and straw. Next, farming is the main production activity. Like any other village across India, farming is the main production activity in Palampur. The other production activities referred to as non-farming activities include small manufacturing, transport, shopkeeping, etc. Next, most of the houses have electric connection. Electric powered tube wells are also available. Electricity is used in various types of small businesses. Palampur has 2 primary schools and 1 high school. There is a primary health care center run by the government and 1 private dispensary where the sick are treated. So all the above description shows that the Palampur has fairly well developed system of roads, transport, electricity, irrigation, schools and health centers compared to other villages. So here this topic got over. In the next video we will learn about organization of production. I want to give you an assignment question. Describe the infrastructural development in Palampur. There are some factors of production. Means every production is organized by combining land, labor, physical capital and human capital, which are known as factors of production. After that we had studied that how with the help of modern farming methods we had increased our production. Modern farming method or green revolution can be considered as the same. As we all know the meaning of green revolution, that is, it is a package program to increase the productivity of food grains by using HYV seeds, fertilizers, insecticides and pesticides, machines and better methods of irrigation. So from that topic there are some questions which comes in our mind that are what is the difference between multiple cropping and modern farming methods. Multiple cropping and modern farming are 2 ways of increasing production from the same piece of land. Under multiple cropping, production is increased by growing more than one crop on a piece of land during a year. It is the most common way of raising agricultural production. And under modern farming method, production is increased by using modern technology in place of traditional agricultural practices. Under this method, high yield variety seeds are used in place of simple seeds. HYV seeds promise to produce much greater amount of grain on a single plant. Again, chemical fertilizers are used in place of cow dung and other natural manures. Now the next question is, what is the working capital required by the farmers using modern farming methods? So working capital required by the farmer using modern farming includes the following, that are HYV seeds, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, water, diesel, cash or money in hand. As you all know, the working capital is a capital which is used in its day-to-day trading operations or day-to-day production activity. As we all know, the farming is the main production activity in Palampur, and 75% of the people who are working are dependent on farming for their livelihood. And for that we need a land. And as land is a fixed resource, we had tried modern techniques to increase the production. So land being a natural resource, it is necessary to be very careful in its use. Scientific reports indicate that the modern farming methods have overused the natural resource base, because with the help of these modern techniques we were increasing the production in an artificial way. So there are some disadvantages or demerits of using modern techniques, or you can say some disadvantages of green revolution. In many areas, green revolution is associated with the loss of soil fertility due to increased use of chemical fertilizers, and also continuous use of groundwater for tubewell irrigation has reduced the water level below the ground. Environmental resources like soil, fertility and groundwater are built up over many years. Means it takes so much time to build up again. Once destroyed, it is very difficult to restore them. We must take care of the environment to ensure future development of agriculture. As the chemical fertilizers provide minerals which dissolve in water and are immediately available to plants, but these may not be retained in the soil for long. They may escape from the soil and pollute groundwater, rivers and lakes. Chemical fertilizers can also kill bacteria and other microorganisms in the soil. This means sometime after their use, the soil will be less fertile than ever before. There is an example of this. The consumption of chemical fertilizers in Punjab is highest in the country. The continuous use of chemical fertilizers has led to degradation of soil health. Punjab farmers are now forced to use more and more chemical fertilizers and other inputs to achieve the same production level. This means the cost of cultivation is rising very fast. With the help of pointers, we can understand it in a better way. First point is, land is being natural resource. It is necessary to be very careful in its use. Second, scientific reports have stated that modern methods have overused the natural resources. And the next is green revolution is associated with loss of soil fertility due to increased use of chemical fertilizers. So with the help of these description, we got to know that there are some advantages or merits or disadvantages of green revolution, or you can say modern farming methods. Now the next topic is how is land distributed between the farmers of Palampur. Now you have must realized how important land is for farming. Unfortunately, not all the people engaged in agriculture have sufficient land for cultivation. In Palampur, about one third of the 450 families are landless. That is, 150 families, most of them Dalits, have no land for cultivation. Of the remaining families who own land, 240 families cultivate small plots of land less than 2 hectares in size. Cultivation of such plots doesn't bring adequate income to the farmer family. There is a story in the book that is in 1960 there was a farmer, Govind was a farmer with 2.25 hectares of largely unirrigated land. With the help of his three sons, Govind cultivated the land. Though they did not live very comfortably, the family managed to feed itself with a little bit of extra income from farming. Some years after Govind's death, this land was divided among his three sons. Each one now has a plot of land that is only 0.75 hectares in size. Even with improved irrigation and modern farming method, Govind's sons are not be able to make a living from their land. They have to look for additional work during the part of the year. You can see the large number of small plots scattered around the village in the picture. These are cultivated by the small farmers. On the other hand, more than half the area of the village is covered by plots that are quite large in size. In Palampur, there are 60 families of medium and large farmers who cultivate more than 2 hectares of land. A few of the large farmers have land extending over 10 hectares or more. So in pointers, in Palampur, about one third of the 450 families are landless. That is 150 families, most of them Dalits, have no land for cultivation. Next is of remaining families who own land, 240 families cultivate less than 2 hectares of land, which doesn't give much profit. Next, in Palampur, there are 60 families of medium and large farmers who cultivate more than 2 hectares of land. A few of the large farmers have land extending over 10 hectares or more. So there are four types of farmers over there. One is small farmers, second is medium farmers, third is large farmers, or the fourth one is landless laborers or landless farm laborers. There are some pictures in the book. With the help of that pictures, there are some questions comes in our mind. The first question is identify the work being done on the field in the picture 1 to 6 and arrange them in the proper sequence. That you can do in your own self. The next is the distribution of farmers in India and the amount of land they cultivate is given in the following graph. Would you agree that the distribution of cultivated land is unequal in Palampur? Do you find a similar situation for India? So there is a graph 1.1 which shows the distribution of cultivated area and farmers. So for that question you can write yes, I agree that the distribution of cultivated land is unequal in Palampur because out of the 450 families, 150 families are landless. 240 families cultivate small plots and landless than 2 hectares in size, whereas 60 medium and large farmers cultivate more than 2 hectares of land. A few of them have land extending over 10 hectares or more, which shows that medium and large farmers have more land though they are numerically smaller. This clearly shows the inequality in the distribution of cultivated land. According to the graph, a similar situation exists for India. For India also, which means that 80% of the small farmers cultivate only 36% of the cultivated area, whereas 20% of the big farmers cultivate 64% of the cultivated area, which again shows that there is inequality in the distribution of cultivated area in the case of India. In the case of India also, as was in Palampur. Now we will study about the next factor of production, that is labor. After land, labor is the next necessary factor for production. Farming requires a great deal of hard work. Small farmers along with their families cultivate their own fields. Thus, they provide the labor required for farming themselves. Medium and large farmers hire farm laborers to work on their fields. Farm laborers come either from landless families or families cultivating small plots of land. Unlike farmers, farm laborers do not have a right over the crops grown on the land. Instead, they are paid wages by the farmers for whom they work. Wages can be in cash or in kind. Example, crop something. Sometimes laborers get meals also. Wages vary widely from region to region, from crop to crop, from one farm activity to another activity, like sowing and harvesting. There is also a wide variation in the distribution of employment. A farm laborer might be employed on a daily basis or for one particular farm activity like harvesting or for the whole year. In pointers, who will provide the laborers? After land, labor is the next most necessary factor in agriculture. Small farmers along their families cultivate their own fields, thus cutting cost of labor. Medium and large farmers hire farm labor to work on their fields. Farm laborers come from landless farmers or farmers cultivating small fields. In the book, one picture has been given in that they were showing the conversation between two farmers. Their names are Dala and Ramkali, and they are among the poorest native of the village. So you can read the conversation between Dala and Ramkali. Dala is a landless farm laborer who works on daily wages in Palampur. This means he must regularly look for work. The minimum wages for a farm laborer set by the government is rupees 60 per day. But Dala was getting only rupees 35 to 40. There is heavy competition for work among the farm laborers in Palampur. So people agree to work for lower wages. Dala complains about his situation to Ramkali, who is another farm laborer. Both Dala and Ramkali are among the poorest people in the village. So from this picture the question comes, that is, why are farm laborers like Dala and Ramkali poor? So for this you can write that both Dala and Ramkali are poor because Dala is a landless farm laborer who works on daily wages. He fails to get regular work in the fields due to modernization of agriculture. Ramkali hopes to get lesser work even during the harvesting season this year. Last year she worked only for 4.5 months in the whole year. Since she was already debt ridden, the village moneylender refused to give her any loan. So thus both Ramkali and Tala are poor because they were not having regular source of income, and also they were not having their own land so on that they can work, and also they both have taken the loan from the money lender. So in that way we can say that Ramkali and Dala are poor. I hope till here everything is clear. So now I am just going to give you some assignment question. First is, why are the wages for farm laborers in Palampur less than minimum wages? So in that you can write, though the minimum wages for a farm laborer set by the government is rupees 60 per day, but Dala gets only rupees 35 to 40, or other farm laborers only get 35 to 40 rupees per day. This is because there is enormous corruption existing there. There is a supply of cheap labor which is much more than its demand. This gives rise to a situation of heavy competition amongst the farm laborers. The use of modern agricultural implementation like tractors, threshers, etc. also reduces the need for agricultural laborers, thus lowering their wages. The next question is, what are the different sources for the supply of labor for farms, and what are their usual earnings? So in that you can mention that farm laborers come either from landless families or families cultivating a small plot of land, and they do not have any right over crop grown on the land. Instead, they are paid wages by farmers for whom they work, but due to heavy competition for work and high supply of laborers, these wages are very low. These wages can be in cash or in kind. Wages vary widely from region to region, from crop to crop, and from one farm activity to another. Next question is, how is the distribution of land among farmers related to the productivity from the land? In that you can write down, distribution of land is closely related to the productivity of the land. Cultivation on small land holdings is just sufficient to fulfill the need of the family. As small farmers do not have any surplus grain to sell in the market, they have no earnings, and they are not able to use any modern methods of cultivation like buying HYV seeds, tractors, fertilizers, etc. So in that way we can say that distribution of land among farmers related to the productivity from the land. Next question is, explain merits and demerits of the Green Revolution.